So this video is dedicated to my friend Dave. Dave, who lives across the street, kind of said something the other day that upset me a bit because it seems like he likes somebody else's sourdough more than he likes mine. So here's what I'm doing. Today is Tuesday, and last night is when I actually started to construct this whole starter. But this is my sourdough starter that I'm going to now reconstruct. I'm going to add some water and flour to this, feed it, put it in the fridge. Okay, and that stays alive year round. This is 8 ounces of that, and this is going to be the foundation for the beginning of my sourdough loaf. So this is going to ferment for 24 hours. Tomorrow I'm going to construct the dough, and then that dough, after it's constructed and risen and everything, is going to go in the fridge and ferment overnight. So today's Tuesday, so that's Wednesday. So Thursday is when I'm actually going to bake it. Okay, and then Dave's going to get a loaf, and we're going to find out how he really feels, right? You got to tell the truth, Dave. This is the starting point for my sourdough. So it consists of the starter, which then I turned into a levain, which then I used some of to create this portion of the dough. This is going to ferment for 24 hours, and I'm going to let it sit at room temperature for about 3 hours, and then it's going in the fridge because I don't want it to collapse. All right, so this is my sourdough pre-ferment dough after 2 hours. So you see how it's risen a bit. In 1 more hour, this is going in the fridge. Okay, so 3 hours have passed, and you see it just about doubled, maybe it more than doubled. So I know if I let this out in room temperature for much longer, it's gonna just over-inflate and then collapse on itself and die out. And I want it to stay lively because tomorrow is when we make the dough. All right, it is the next day. I just took this out of the fridge. So this is what I'm going to call my poolish. This is the poolish I'm going to use to make my sourdough. So in an hour and a half, when this reaches room temperature, because it's cold now, I'm going to start putting the dough together. Okay, I'm not ready yet to make the dough, but I'm getting things measured out. So this is 1 pound, 10 ounces. So that's 26 ounces of organic bread flour. And I'm going to add to it now 2 ounces of this rye flour. Just 2. Just for a little character. There we go. So there it is, 28 ounces of red flour and rye. I'm going to use 16 ounces of water. We're not going to measure that out yet. And we're going to use a tablespoon of this, which comes out to be about 20 grams. So I'm going to measure out 20 grams of this salt. Okay. Measure out 20 grams. Oops. There we go. We're good. Okay, it is dough time. So, and again, this is because Dave pissed me off. So this is my poolish, and I'm going to just put this in my bowl. All right. That's the full batch of poolish. Now, this is interesting. I have a measuring cup, and I'm going to measure out 8 ounces. I'm going to measure out 16 ounces, but it's a 1 cup. But what's happening here is I measure out 1 cup. That's 7 7/8. Right? There's 8 ounces. I'll do that 1 more time. Then I'm going to dissolve that. Okay, perfect. Okay, put that aside. Okay, it is fairly well dissolved. I'm going to throw in some flour. Mix that in. And then I'm going to add the salt. I don't want to put the salt in too soon because I don't want it, killing off the yeast. I know a lot of guys like to add the salt later after the dough's already formed, but I don't like that because I feel like it's harder to make sure it's all dissolved. Okay, so that's 20 grams of salt for about a tablespoon. Right? The actual original recipe calls for a tablespoon. I measured it out, and it is actually 20 grams. Okay, let's put in more flour, all of it. We're going to use all of it. So let me just go slowly here so I don't make a big flour bomb. And as soon as this becomes a little bit harder to stir, I'm going to switch to this. Again, I don't want to make a big flour bomb with this. So I'm going to switch to this. Basically, I'm just going to so I just switch it to fast speed so you don't have to get bored with 6 minutes of this, right? I think 30 seconds will be fine. And then after we do this, we'll do a little slap and fold and get that dough formed into a nice ball and let it rest appropriately. Right now I'm doing a little slap and fold, and again, I don't need to bore you with all that. It has been about 15 minutes, so let's take a look at the dough. Well, first we wet my hands. Just want them a little bit wet, that's all. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is detach it from the table, pick it up, and you see how we're already starting to form a nice dough. See how it's more elastic, right? I'm just going to do a little bit of slap and fold, right? You see it's not 100% yet, but you see how it's starting to form. It has transformed, right? It's not sticky on top anymore. It's starting to form into a nice dough. So I'm just going to let it rest another 20 minutes and come back to it. All right, it's rested a little more. Let's see what it feels like now. Oh yeah, look at that. It's starting to feel like dough. Look at that, how nice look at how nice it's stretching now. Beautiful, look at that. It's just come together. Okay, so I'm going to, I think I'm just gonna slap and fold it a little bit, and then we're going to do a bulk rise for the bulk rise. All right, here it is, an oiled bowl, my nice sourdough. You know what I didn't do? I didn't weigh it. Let's weigh it. Four pounds, 2 ounces. Beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to shape it. All right, I moved it over to the other countertop so that I'm going to let them rest here, and I'm going to shape them into 2 separate loaves. And you know I could do it by eye, and it's going to be pretty even, but I like to weigh it to make sure that they're both exactly the same size, because you know I'm that guy. So here we go. I'm just going to loosen it from the bowl, turn it over, and so now basically the top of my dough is going to be at the bottom on the countertop.
And as soon as it falls out, I'm going to get a knife, slice it in half, and you're going to see that when I slice this, I am pretty close. I am pretty close to making them perfectly both the same size, but I'm off by about 2 ounces, which is okay. So I'm going to make sure that both loaves are exactly the same size, so that, I don't know, I guess I'm just that guy. So there's one. Here's the other, and now you're going to see me slice a little bit off of that one and stick it on the other, and bam, we're ready. And now I'm just going to gently form them into 2 separate loaves and let them rest on my work surface here for a little bit before I put them into their final overnight resting place, which is going to be inside of my baskets. And then they're going to go in the fridge and ferment overnight. And then tomorrow is when I bake them. And man, you know, it's a long process. I get it, but it is so worth it. It really is. And you know, I've come a long way with this. A lot of guys doing this stuff on the internet kind of gave me some ideas. One of the guys I love so much is Richard Berthinet, and even though I don't think I've seen him do this in particular, I mean, the guy's a master. And there's so many great bakers out there doing their thing, giving out little tips, and it just takes a little practice, just a little bit of practice. I mean, you know, I love watching Tom Papa make his bread, you know. So here we go. I'm going to just let them rest, and then we're going to put them in the baskets in a little while.
Okay, so here's one loaf, and my other loaf was in the fridge overnight in the basket, right? And I just took them out so they warm up to room temperature. In a little while, we're going to preheat that oven and bake them. Okay, here goes my first loaf. Look how nice it rose in the fridge overnight. It's almost at room temperature. It's been sitting out for a little while. Okay, and I'm going to just brush off some of that flour. Okay, here we go. I'm not real good at this, but we're going to give it a try. All right, here we go. I'm going to do it this way. Okay, now let's try putting little lines on it, see what happens. Here goes number one. Don't pick up the lid with your bare hand, Tom. That would be bad. Okay, and into the oven it goes. Okay. Okay. Here is the first one. Oops. Okay, let's pop it back in the oven. Stop it. 250. Let's put the Dutch oven back in. Keep that thing hot. Give that another 25 minutes. Okay, here is loaf number one. It's hot. It's very hot. Very hot. Okay, here they both are. Loaf number two, loaf number one. Looking good. Okay, and here it is. Cut down the middle. A beautiful crumb in there, huh? Isn't that nice?